Tonight, we begin with unfolding developments in the Middle East as the United States and Israel escalate military action against Iran. At least 4 U.S. service members have been killed amid Operation Epic Fury, a large-scale offensive begun late last week, according to U.S. Central Command. President Donald Trump has confirmed the deaths, expressed sorrow, and warned that more casualties are likely before the conflict concludes. America's joint military campaign with Israel is now entering its third day, with continued exchanges of strikes and retaliatory attacks across multiple nations. The strategic objectives and human costs are drawing intense global attention. In this special report, we unpack the latest verified developments and what they mean. Operation Epic Fury was launched as a coordinated U.S.-Israeli strike against key Iranian military targets. According to statements from Pentagon officials, the objective is to degrade Iran's offensive capabilities and neutralize threats against U.S. forces and allies in the region. President Trump described the strategy as decisive and overwhelming, while acknowledging the risk of military loss. Iran has responded with retaliatory strikes targeting U.S. bases and allied forces across the Middle East. The exchange has raised fears of a broader escalation that could reshape regional security dynamics. Understanding these events requires context on how this campaign began and why. Earlier this week, the U.S. Central Command announced that a 4th service member succumbed to wounds sustained during initial Iranian counterattacks. This follows 3 U.S. military deaths confirmed on Sunday, bringing the total to 4 confirmed U.S. fatalities. Several others were reported seriously wounded, and many sustained minor injuries, according to military officials. The identities of the fallen have not yet been released publicly out of respect for next-of-kin notifications. American families are being informed privately as part of military protocol. These deaths mark the most significant U.S. losses in this conflict phase. President Trump addressed the nation and acknowledged the sacrifices made by U.S. service members. He honored them as true patriots, giving the ultimate sacrifice for the nation. Trump also warned that additional casualties are likely before the campaign ends. Trump described the military effort as necessary to confront serious regional threats, calling it a righteous mission. He stated that the operation could last 4 to 5 weeks, but was prepared to extend beyond that timeline if needed. In remarks shared on social media, Trump emphasized America's resolve in the face of continued hostility. Senior military officials briefed reporters outlining strategic goals of the campaign. According to U.S. defense leaders, objectives include destroying Iranian missile infrastructure and disabling long-range offensive capabilities. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth stated that the U.S. will strike without apology to protect American forces and interests. Joint Chiefs of Staff Chairman Dan Kane explained that the operation involves layered attacks on Iranian defenses. He warned that achieving objectives may require time and that further casualties are possible. These detailed goals shed light on how military planners envision the campaign's evolution. In response to U.S. and Israeli strikes, Iran launched ballistic missiles and drones targeting U.S. bases in multiple Gulf states. Countries like Bahrain, Kuwait, and the United Arab Emirates reported intercepting hostile projectiles. Iranian forces have also targeted Israeli positions, marking a multi-front escalation. Regional nations are on high alert as conflict broadens beyond Iranian territory. These responses highlight the complex web of alliances and tensions in the Middle East. Understanding these broader dynamics helps assess future risk. Preliminary tallies from some sources indicate that hundreds have died in Iran since the offensive began. Separate reporting suggests significant casualties in Israel as well. These figures underscore the devastating human cost borne by civilians and military personnel alike during the escalation. It remains difficult to independently verify comprehensive casualty numbers. Different agencies and governments offer varying counts. Still, the scale of violence signifies a major intensification of conflict. U.S. partners and allies have watched developments closely since Operation Epic Fury began. Britain confirmed support by allowing use of bases and logistical cooperation. European and Middle Eastern governments are weighing diplomatic and military implications. Other NATO members are discussing defensive measures for personnel abroad. Some analysts believe the conflict could reshape alliances and foreign military strategy. International reaction continues to evolve. Within the United States, political leaders on both sides of the aisle are responding to the ongoing conflict. Some members of Congress support the operation as necessary for national security. Others are calling for increased oversight and debate over the legality of extended military action. Public opinion is divided, with recent polling showing mixed views on the campaign's justification and scope. Debates in Washington reflect broader national tensions over foreign engagements. These discussions may influence future policy decisions. The Constitution grants Congress the authority to declare war, while presidents retain the power to deploy military force. Legal experts emphasize that extended ground operations without congressional approval remain contentious. The debate over executive and legislative war powers is now front and center. Some lawmakers argue that Trump should seek formal authorization for a prolonged campaign. Others contend that current national security threats justify executive action. This legal tussle mirrors historical debates from past conflicts. Beyond military forces, ordinary civilians are bearing the brunt of escalating hostilities. Hospitals in Tehran reported damage resulting from bombardment. Families continue to grapple with loss and disruption, with photos and videos surfacing of devastated areas. Humanitarian agencies are expressing concern over access to medical care and shelter. The destruction of infrastructure aggravates conditions for vulnerable communities. These non-combat impacts represent a hidden toll of conflict. The Middle East plays a central role in global energy markets. Conflict tends to disrupt oil production and shipping through strategic waterways. Gas prices and international trade flows are reacting to the instability. Insurance rates for shipping in the region have risen. Major airlines are adjusting flight routes to avoid volatile airspace. Economic ripple effects are already visible worldwide. Joint operations between U.S. and Israeli forces involve complex coordination. Command and control systems are managing airstrikes, logistics, and intelligence. Unmanned drones and cruise missiles feature prominently in tactical planning. Defense networks are also deploying defense systems to protect allied bases. U.S. troops remain stationed in Gulf states as part of defensive efforts. This logistical footprint underscores the scale of the campaign. Diplomats from multiple countries are now engaged in back-channel discussions to prevent further escalation. UN officials are calling for restraint on all sides. Efforts seek to find a negotiated pathway to de-escalate tensions. These talks include regional powers traditionally aligned with U.S. interests. Every diplomatic initiative strives to reduce the risk of an all-out regional war. The stakes are global. Modern warfare in this campaign has demonstrated the continued use of advanced weapon systems. Tomahawk cruise missiles have been used to strike strategic targets across Iran. Iran's ballistic missile arsenal and drone capabilities have also come into play. Technological clashes raise questions about escalation thresholds. Each side's weapons demonstrate evolving military doctrines. The technological dimension amplifies the conflict's complexity. Amid debate over military strategy, American civil society groups are weighing in. Some advocate for increased transparency on engagement rules. Others call for humanitarian considerations and restraint. Public demonstrations reflect diverging views on America's role overseas. These domestic voices contribute to a broader national conversation. Public opinion continues to be a key political factor. Iranian state media is promoting narratives of defiance and retaliation. Officials have vowed to respond to every military strike with proportionate force. Nationalistic rhetoric reinforces internal unity against perceived external aggression. Iran's leadership argues the strikes infringe on sovereignty. These rhetorical frames fuel public sentiment and explain retaliatory choices. Understanding Iran's internal narrative helps contextualize the conflict. Conflict escalation remains a pressing concern for analysts. The involvement of Iran's allies, such as Hezbollah or Iranian-backed militias, could widen fighting. Threats to foreign military assets in Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon are growing. International forces stationed abroad may face increased threats as tensions spread. Wider escalation could involve sea lanes, energy infrastructure, or diplomatic missions. These risks underscore the volatile nature of this campaign. Many countries fear an extended conflict could disrupt international peace efforts. United Nations agencies are considering humanitarian aid responses. Security alliances are reevaluating force postures globally. The war's impact on international law, conflict norms, and non-proliferation efforts is significant. Experts warn that prolonged fighting may destabilize surrounding regions. This global lens highlights interconnected risks. In summary, Operation Epic Fury represents a defining moment in U.S.-Iranian relations. 4 U.S. service members have now died, and more casualties remain likely as military action continues. President Trump has forecast a 4 to 5 week timeline, but global dynamics may stretch it further. As this conflict unfolds, it is essential for viewers to follow verified reporting, understand the legal and humanitarian stakes, and remain informed. If you value clear, fact-based political coverage, subscribe and turn on notifications. We will continue to bring you ongoing updates as they develop.